Hey everybody, this is Paula Ritchie. Welcome to OtherRealm Studio. Today we are going to be, once again, the same thing we do every night, Pinky. We are going to be painting illustrations for the Magnolia Phone children's book, currently on Kickstarter. Let's see, you can see it right here. Um, so if you'll go take a look at Kickstarter.com projects, OtherRealm Studio, Magnolia Phone Children's Book. You can see it right here. This is going to be a beautifully illustrated book, if I do say so myself. Featuring beautiful digitally painted illustrations. Digital painting, but not AI, obviously, since I am here uh, planning each of these pages and sketching and painting them. Um, so not just the illustrations, but also the story of many of the deer that come to Magnolia Phone Wildlife or Magnolia Phone Rescue. Um, and their stories. And so, true stories of how these deer survive, um, and how Connie Hall, a certified wildlife rehabber, uh, rescues these fawn and raises them so that they can overcome the tragedies that their lives started out with, and raises them so that they can grow up to be free and wild like they were always meant to be. For the most part, she she does everything she can to give them a good outcome, and if they end up having health issues, or um, or other things that may have gone wrong, um, like one of the phones she had, uh, he was older when he came in, I remember, and he had a persistent problem of fainting. You know how you see fainting goats? Well, this one was a fainting deer. He gets excited and he just passes out. So he would not have a good outcome in the wild. So he's one of the ones in the sanctuary. But yeah, if they aren't gonna do well in the wild, then Connie will let them come and live in the sanctuary. And there are several reasons. There's several things that might happen that would make that be the best choice for a deer, but usually they get released. So she has several deer at once. She's got 100 now, or possibly 101. Um, there's there's just so many, but she raises them together so that they will bond with each other and form a herd, which is how deer naturally ought to live, and they naturally gravitate towards living in a herd together. And then that way, when they're released, they're all released together and they already have their friends, um, and their support network, or whatever you want to call a herd for deer, the uh, the purpose that they have, and so they can live as wild deer ought to live, with their herd, with their new family. And it's actually pretty good that they have a new herd that's formed of deer that's come all from all over the upstate, because that's got to be a pretty genetically diverse herd. So they should be pretty healthy. They wouldn't have too many copies of the same gene floating around. Um, so in the original picture for these, they were all actually very similarly colored. But I'm going to paint them in 3 different shades, so it's going to be easier to tell, whose legs belong to whom. So Connie does try to release as many of them as possible, because every year she gets somewhere around 100 fawns in, and that's a big commitment. And then when one cannot go back into the wild, that's 20 years uh, lifespan in captivity, typically. So that's another 20-year commitment, and it's not like the fawn are slowing down. There's always more work to be done. So, one of the reasons why I am creating this children's book is so that, we can have like a hard copy documentation of what it is that Connie does, that, this is her calling, this is what she's truly exceptional at, is just keeping these little fawn alive, because they really are extremely delicate, and it's it's really no easy task. see, I want to take this picture and scoot it. No, not this one. Alright, this one. And scoot it over here so that I can go by this. Okay. So now that I've got the color roughed in, I can sketch in some more of the detail. Let's see. Let me just fill in their little ears. And then I want to pop in an extra layer for the background and put in the playpen. So the playpens are a really good idea. They're soft-sided, so the deer don't hurt themselves if they're bouncing around, uh, as they do. Um, like I found out with my cat, um, she will she will beat herself to death on the side of a hard-sided cat carrier. So we finally got her a soft-sided one because she was hurting herself on the way to the vet, and that's not good. Poor baby. So we got her a soft-sided carrier, and now she's still not happy, but at least she's not damaging herself further when she has to go to the vet. And so it's kind of the same theory with the playpens for the baby deer. I mean, if you're used to taking care of children and uh, getting them in and out of playpens, it's kind of a logical step to take. Um, if a baby can't hurt himself in this, a fawn can't hurt himself in this either. And they're put in together like this so that they will imprint on each other, and this is the beginning of a little herd. So they're going to grow up to be best friends and live in a herd together. So she puts them together where they're all about the same size. So even if they bounce into each other and buck and play around, they can't really do any damage. So they're just in their little class. Alright, let's do a new layer. We'll put it behind these foam. And we'll do this a bit bigger. Let's see. This one is about like a navy blue. mean, I know that the bar across the top of this has a bunch of colors, but that's not really necessary for the story to perfectly represent the pattern of the playpen, and also I think it would be a little cluttered visually. So, whoop. Alright. So I'm just going to sketch it in and make it a plain one. Come on, do the save thing. Alright, now there it goes. So I want to come up with something good to use, a good texture to use for the mesh. Now, Clip Studio Paint has a lot of good textures, and I had downloaded a ton as well, but when changing to version 3, and there was stuff that happened to my save, and it's not entirely, I, it's not everything I saved is where it was. So it still shows when I purchase where I purchase materials, but they're not all here in my menu anymore. So I just have to go back, find them, and re-download them. And I have not done that yet, and I'm not going to be spending, prime art stream time on uh, fixing things on Clip Studio rather than painting adorable little dearies. Let's see, what have we got? So I think I can do like this lightest grayish blue shade. And yeah, let's hide these guys for a minute. So you might notice that Connie lines the bottoms of the playpens with pea pads. This is because, uh, well, you just don't house break foam. And this is like the easiest way to keep the playpens neat and clean. So she's come up with all kind of hacks for this so that the foam stay clean and healthy with minimal human contact. And that's what they really need um, in order to have the best possible outcome and be able to be released as wild deer. Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, so this is the gauze cloud texture, and I want to airbrush in a bit of shadow. Let's do this a bit bigger. So this is coming close to the right texture. And if I put the deer back in it, I'll be able to sketch in where their shadows actually are. Okay. Now I feel like the gauze cloud might be kind of close to what I'm going to need for the mesh on the sides of the playpen. So I'm going to use the polyline tool, not the rectangle because this is not a perfect rectangle, and select the panel that we're looking at, and um, the mesh here is white, but I might be using white for the background, so I think I'll go back to the lightest shade of grayish blue. Uh, let's try it with friction first. Now I feel like I should have swapped friction and gauze cloud. using those. Oh well. Now I don't really like the cross-hatching ones. They just look a little too crunchy. So let's see. I can take down the brush density and put the gap closer together. And make it bigger. I think that works. So let's deselect that one. So I am going to be here for the rest of June at 8 o'clock in the evenings, Eastern Time. Here we go. There, playpen. Working on this children's book. And we have it on Kickstarter right now to raise the funds to get it printed. And that's pretty much all that I need funds for, is just the printing. I'm doing all the rest of the work myself, so there's not really I'm donating hours of my time to it. The paintings are the tip of the iceberg. So with enough time, you can get a lot of things done. And so that's my strategy for getting the children's book made, and uh, you know, the art, the writing, the formatting, um, and arranging everything with the printer. I'll just take my time and get through it. I've already published my own book. Well, this is my own book too. I've already published my science fiction novel and my comic books. And so I'm confident that I can do a children's book as well. And there's going to be different things about the format. But this is something that I want to know how to do. We'll see if I publish more children's books in the future. But for now, we'll see how this one goes. Um, so the idea behind having it on Kickstarter is to get the print run funded. And then that way, I figured uh, get people to pledge to buy the book, and then they would get their copy first, and I would be able to get additional copies to give to Connie so that she can use them for fundraisers and stuff. And also, she's the co-author on this book, so um, she gets like half the royalties anyway. In any case, um, but the only way that would work is if the Kickstarter succeeds and we raise $1,000 and get the print run. And the Kickstarter's been going really slowly. I've heard a lot of stuff about it. So there's a bunch of theories going around about what's going on. Because it's not just this book. There are a lot of book projects on Kickstarter this month, and hardly any of them are getting any traction. For some reason, it's a very difficult season for book Kickstarters, and I'm honestly kind of shocked because I've run successful Kickstarters before, and that's how I got my comic books and my novel. All those print fees and shipping, once it's printed, then you have to mail it. Um, so that too. Um, all that was covered for my other books and comics by Kickstarter, so I'm really surprised that there's so much difficulty with this one. I feel like I'm not reaching all of my audience. I'm certainly not reaching all of Connie's audience. Um, every time I talk about the book in person, uh, there's a lot of interest in it, but translating that interest to pledging to support the book on Kickstarter, it's not really happening, and I cannot for the life of me understand why ever not. I had a superhero novel um, at a time when super superhero fatigue was supposed to be a thing. Um, in fact, uh, the publisher for the first edition of that book had gone out of business, and I still managed to bring it back and republish it myself, with illustrations. And that was kind of an unlikely project, but I made it happen. And the comics were fantasy adventure comics, and I know some comics people but they're more. Most of them are looking for a return to like 90s comics, and my comic was completely outside of that genre. And yet, I still managed to crowdfund the printing fees for 2 issues. And now, with the way Kickstarter is, I'm seriously doubting whether it's going to be possible to do issue 3 through that same method again. I'm going to have to come up with something else to do with my life. Or, well, not with my life, but to try and make that happen. I am unhappy with the way this eye is, and uh, I don't want to leave it alone until I have fixed it. But it's going to turn into one of these things where I zoom in at 500% and obsess over it, and it turns out to be something that doesn't even show in print. So I will come back to that. I know it's mostly right, it's just not all the way there yet. But I have 2 other deer to take care of in this picture, so I need to leave it alone, calm down, back off. Let's see. I know I was going to do this one a bit more of a medium color, but I see how much darker he is in the reference picture, so I'm going to darken up his sides a good bit. And then that's going to make his little white spots pop. I remember being surprised at how orderly these spots are. They almost blend into stripes. I guess I had gotten the idea from children's books when I was little that phone just had random spots. But they're not so random. They're lined up in an order. I mean, there's a few strays, but there's usually a row on either side of the spine, and then the rest are kind of stacked beneath it. So let's blend in this color a little. So going over it this way makes it look more like the texture of the hair. So I'm going to be changing up the way I do this channel. If you're Hello Milkman 4532. Thank you. Um, if you're watching on Twitch, then I'm thinking that for the last week of the campaign, I'm going to be swapping from streaming on Twitch and YouTube to streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Gonna see if I can reach a few different people. And you know, I didn't pay for the subscription to Restream, so I can only do 2 channels at once. But you know, if you miss me on Twitch, you can always go back to YouTube and check out the stream there. And of course, if you would like to see the real live deer, you can check out Magnolia Fawn Rescue at Magnolia Fawn Rescue on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. This reference picture here that I'm using is a video from TikTok that was also shared. You can see right here it says Magnolia Fawn Rescue. Fawn? I keep wanting to say phone. So it was from TikTok and shared to Instagram. And so there's so many videos of the deer that my sister rescues and rehabilitates to release in the wild. Yeah, these I think have a good chance. These will be able to be released into the wild. You can see that, you know, there's all 3 of them in the playpen together. So they're getting along with each other. They're all healthy. They can be in a playpen and not in an incubator. They're all standing. They all have straight legs. So these aren't physical therapy cases like she gets with piebalds and with the dwarfism and the leg issues. They all look bright-eyed and alert. They're young enough that these are babies. They don't know any better. They will forget as long as they imprint on each other and not on Connie. They'll forget about being raised by humans. It's just going to be like this weird foggy thing for them, and they will be able to go out in the wild and raise their babies, yeah, the way that deer ought to be raised, without being too messed up by the period of time that they spent in a kitchen, in a playpen. Getting bottle fed every 3 hours. Like, I could not do this. I could not do this. I would die if I did not get enough sleep. I'd just keel over. I don't see how Connie does it. I would be such a zombie. Um, Let me paint these little hooves. They are just too tiny. I always expected deer to be somewhat larger than they actually are. I mean, especially the babies. Connie gets in some tiny babies. Some of them are dwarfs or have health issues. Um, and one notable case, which his story is definitely going in the book, he was born prematurely after his mother was hit by a car. And that's a wild story. So that's Jesse's story, and he's definitely going in the book. Now, last night I was working on um, fixing one of my earliest concept pages for this project and also sketching out this scene. And I was just so tired. I could not continue. So I had cut the stream a little bit early last night. But even with that, there's still been a lot of hours in this project. And I feel like I'm finally getting to a place where I can say things have gotten done. Sometimes I think there is something wrong with me and my concept of when I can call things getting done. I can't help it. I have high standards. This is going to be um, really my most beautiful work. I have worked so hard on this, and it's finally just now, I think, starting to get to a place where I can honestly say that yes, I'm gonna be so proud of this when it's done. It doesn't really matter what anyone else has to say about it. I mean, of course, I'll take nice things if anyone has nice things to say. But that's not my motivation for finishing the project. It's got its own life now. Let's see. So this one down here on the bottom, his little muzzle's gotten a bit Mike Wazowski'd by the caption. But it's okay. I think at this point I am getting pretty good at what deer look like, so I can figure it out. So let's darken up his muzzle up over the top of it here, and we'll need to paint this black right here on his nose. I'll put a little shine on it later. Okay, and this one up here in the back, he's got a lot of black points. His muzzle has more black space on it, and his ears are almost entirely black. And his knees are very dark too. So it's really interesting how they really do have a greater variety of pattern and difference in their coats, and how there really is an order to their spots. And the spots are all different. Um, he has a couple of pairs of stray ones, and then almost a little zigzag before it resolves down here into like stripy ones. And then this one in the middle here, she's got kind of uh, like a row of stripes up here and a row of stripes down here, and then a whole cloud of them in the middle. And his rows are very orderly, but that might just be because I'm looking almost straight down on him. And I might still have to take some artistic license with uh, how accurate I put the patterns of the spots, because that's a lot of spots. And it's hard to keep track of them while you're painting. So I might have to simplify a little bit. Okay, we're coming up on close to an hour, so let me do this. So, remember this is for the Magnolia Fawn children's book, and copy this link. Let me put this up here in the chat. So that if you would like to go and support the book, here it is. This is how we're raising the print fees for it. If we don't get to the goal in the next 12 days, then we aren't going to be able to go to print. I mean, the original timeline is to be able to go to print in time for Christmas, and in order to do that, I have to be able to fund the print run sometime in July. So you can also go to Magnolia Fawn Rescue. There's the Facebook page. There's a link to that. And from there you'll be able to see the links to the videos on Instagram and on TikTok. And also you can see here I went to Deerland. This is where the deer are soft released from the rescue. And I took a ton of reference pictures. And here's a painting of the creek that's down there. So the deer have plenty of fresh running water and lots of greenery, lots of browse. And so they're released over there in Deerland. There's a mayapple patch. And then they gradually disperse out from there. Once they, if their herd decides to move on. So while I was out there taking pictures, I was looking around and I was like, wow, I don't see any deer. But when I was done taking pictures, at the very end, when I was headed back, I did catch a glimpse of kind of a large herd of them. So they really are there, and they really do avoid people once they grow up. This this is huge, because one of the things that Connie also has to deal with, in addition to rescuing orphan fawn, is taking in fawn that have been raised improperly. And sometimes, people really do mean well, but if you aren't careful, you're going to end up with a phone that has decided that uh, people are its herd. And that's not good because they grow up and they start getting these little spikes. And they start, even the does will start like rearing up on people and, playing rough, like you do as a deer. This is it's normal deer behavior, but it's not safe for people. And they'll go hang out with, they'll want to just be around children and dogs. Let's see. Oh, I need to get rid of these sketch marks. I meant to put the painting on a different layer than the sketch layer, and I did not. What? No one's ever done that before, right? At least I remembered to put the background on a different layer than the sketches. I was wondering why something didn't look quite right. Um, I didn't have enough layers stacked up on this side. And it's because, well, I painted over the sketching layer. Shouldn't have done that. Oh, there goes the save thing again. Alright, so in case I am not here for the final 7 days of the campaign, so in a couple days, you can come find me at uh, at a sorry, I lose track of my thoughts when I'm erasing tiny little bits of stuff. Um, right. So you can find me on YouTube. I'm OtherRealm Studio there too. But uh, let's see. What's my? That's not my handle though. Okay. If you look at YouTube at Paula Ritchie 9795, that's where I am on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook if you want to see the art stream there. Although the first art stream I did on Facebook too, and I got a uh, revenue sharing notice about my uh, my background music, my theme here. Okay, well, I bought the premium license for it, but it doesn't really include necessarily um, not sharing revenue, I guess. I don't know. I looked at it, I looked at the license again, and it didn't say it did or it didn't, but it does say that I'm allowed to use the music on art streams or on live streaming as background music and so forth. So it wasn't like a strike. But then the other thing that was strange about it, though, the only thing that I would really uh, be bothered about was that there were two different people, and I got all my background music from licensed from one person. So somebody else also claimed revenue shares for having my music in the background, and it was somebody I'd never heard of. So I don't know if that one was legit or not. So when I try Facebook again, I'm gonna have to take a look at that and see if I need to look up the original guy that I got the license from and notify him that there's I only use your music on my nightly art streams, and somebody else is claiming. That's got to be annoying. So I got this soundtrack from Thessalian's. No, not Thessalian. I listen to Thessalian a lot though on YouTube, and I might buy theirs eventually. But this one is from Dark Fantasy Studios, and it's a playlist I made out of a few of their different ones. I think I got them on Humble Bundle or whatever the other site's called. That's essentially like Humble Bundle. And I've been really happy with it. This is good to listen to. There's also a lot of horror and game type soundtrack, but I think for this subject, this is a good tone. Every time I look at this picture, I think they're just babies. They don't know any better. They don't know that they're not supposed to be in a playpen in a kitchen. That they'll forget, and then they'll get to grow up to be wild deer like they were always meant to be. So no matter what tragedy they had in their beginning, being orphaned so early in life, or kidnapped by a dog, or uh, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, no matter how sad their stories initially were, they can overcome it. If they have somebody like Connie on their side, looking out for them, giving them that chance to grow up. And not just survive, but also thrive. Because that's what she's all about. Even though they are extremely cute, she's not in the business of keeping them. The best outcome for a deer is to be able to live free and in the wild. And so she's had some sad stories, but mostly she has fantastic success stories. The ones that end with the deer roaming off into the sunset. A happy part of their new herd. So yeah, if y'all are so inclined, go check out the Kickstarter. The link is in the comments. Um, your support would be greatly appreciated. Uh, the Kickstarter is not a charity funding model, so I can't say that the money raised here goes towards the deer, but the money raised from the Kickstarter goes towards printing the book that will then be used for fundraisers, and that will go towards uh, supporting the deer and also for supporting Connie a bit too, because she's co-author on the book, and I'll be consulting with her now and in the future about the direction we're going to take with it. Because I know I'll be proud of this book, but I also want Connie to be proud of it. It is about her life's work after all. And I think that this has the potential to be, really exceptional, not just pretty decent for a kid's book, but truly exceptional as an illustrated work. And I'm doing my best with it. And I really think this is some of my best work ever. And so I'd appreciate it if y'all would go and check it out. Okay, that's probably going to do it for tonight. But thank you for staying with me, for keeping me company. Check out the Kickstarter. I will throw this up here one more time because I can. Let's scroll up to the top. And please consider supporting this so that we can get it in print. Because really, that's the best way to enjoy a children's book, is to hold it in your hands and read it with somebody you love. And, well, good night. I'll see y'all later.